Hey, everybody. Let's go ahead and do your questions. You're going to mute yourself. You can type in. Go ahead and fire away.
Go ahead, Lolly. Start us off.
Hey.
Okay, I was like, maybe somebody else wants to talk, but hey, I'll go. So a lot of things. The weekend was amazing, so thank you for that.
Oh, good.
Last. Okay, so there are a few things going on. We're actually looking at, well, me. If it's too much for that and I need to email you, let me know. So I did blood tests after I haven't done those in many years. It was weird. It was good, but then it was some weird things going on. Basically, I'm anemic, so the iron is low, ferritin is extremely low.
What was extremely low?
Ferritin.
Okay.
And my B12 is actually very high. The good things are there's no inflammation in the body, no autoimmune, no diabetes. My thyroids are fine, kidneys are fine. I have my D is low, my cholesterol is high. That's
How high is your cholesterol?
How
high is your?
it's high. It's like 300.
Okay.
And I don't, and overall I feel fine, but again, the low iron can explain the cold hands, possibly maybe even the pins and needles. So the B12 was high even a few years ago in a test. It's extremely high. So I'm wondering, like, I kind of so yeah, I'm supposed to go on iron supplements right now. Start taking D. Potassium is a little bit low, so I'll do that as well. White blood cells are fine. The red are not amazing because of the anemia.
Sure.
So I kind of need I'm thinking like an additional game plan of the state of the body and also so there's different options that I can come up with, but I figured I'll just.
I would actually stick to the game plan that you're on. I would do there's just regular iron. You probably even got prescribed some iron, but there's some products. I haven't seen them for a while, but I haven't been looking for them where they have a little bit of iron mixed in with plants that also are rich in iron. And
Yeah.
I tend to like those a little bit better.
So with these, the trick is that I can't have any B12 on those, and some of those have B12.
Then I'd stick with just the iron.
And the other thing is that sometimes they put so much sugar in it that, and the supplement I used to take a few years ago has B12.
Right.
But I can still do some research because I just got the results yesterday. But
yeah. I mean, I would, if your B12 is too high, then I'd just take some iron supplements and then do something for the cholesterol, obviously. Are you doing something for the cholesterol already, or?
No, nothing. Because I know that there's the cholesterol support that you mentioned before. I would have to order it because I just have the mini size, so I can't take it internally.
Yeah, you'll need to take with 300. You'll probably need to do a good 3 drops a day. Helichrysum internally also has an effect on cholesterol, and then also the oil Google, like Guggul.
And that's the oil that from what you have in the blend, that's the only oil that I'm actually missing. Because I have rosemary verbena, I have cypress, I have helichrysum. So but ideally taking the cholesterol support 3 drops 3 times a day, you said?
Oh, no, just once a day.
Oh, 3 drops. Okay, so 3 drops.
Yeah, just once a day. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll email you guys tonight. If I can get it in time, then helichrysum instead.
Well, this is going to be a long-term treatment. So like if you're off of it for, not doing it for a couple of days, this is going to be a thing that takes a while to treat. And-
I'm traveling. I'm traveling
Oh,
next
I see.
week, so I'm hoping to get
Yeah,
it
you could start
before
with helichrysum. Yeah, yeah.
I.
I'd start with if you have the rosemary, verbena, and the cypress. Why don't you
Yeah.
just it's like two parts
Mm-hmm.
rosemary, verbena, and 1 part cypress. Just start
Yeah.
putting them 2 drops and 1 drop in water and do it that way. Yeah.
Okay. So then taking, because I did that actually last night, but it has to be done at the same time.
Yeah, it would be best if it was at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. And then same time as okay. So I'll do these three unless I can get the oil. Okay. Then that's for the cholesterol. Okay. And then for the iron, any other options for
You're gonna have to just find some supplements that.
just supplements?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
I
and then
mean, lemon kind of raises the iron a little bit, but there's nothing really in essential oils that's going to resolve that for you.
okay. I thought
Yeah.
just in addition.
Mhm.
Vitamin D again, I'll take supplements, cholesterol. And then the other thing that you mentioned was something for digestion, like doing bitter herbs before eating. And then
Say that again?
like doing some bitter herbs, taking bitter herbs
Oh,
like a spray
yeah.
or like a supplement. But they put a lot of essential oils in those anyway. So is there like a combination of oils that I can do before I'm eating that can help with digestion?
Just help with digestion, like ginger, fennel, caraway, anise. Um,
What about the ANS support?
yeah, that would do some. Like if you're just trying to stimulate digestion, I mean that's for like treating something that's like maybe not functioning properly. But if you're just trying to improve digestion, you might want to do like ginger or just anise. Um, but I tend to go to ginger for that.
So just but because the idea with
Hmm.
that is to do that just before you're eating a meal
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
everything is digesting better.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
ginger by itself would do it as well.
yeah. Ginger or fennel. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Even
Okay.
anise, like anise, I'd throw anise in there. But
Okay.
you just choose one of them. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't need to go all
No,
fancy and
no,
mix.
no.
Okay. Um, I mean, it's a combination of a few different things that's going on in my body. Is there anything else that
Yeah,
I
I'd
just
stick with
keep?
the protocols we're doing. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so just keep treating the state of the
hmm,
body. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it was on one hand it looked really good, the other hand it was like a little bit off. Okay. And then skin wise, my skin has been dead just the last couple of days. It's been acting up, which I don't know if it's like a reaction for something that I'm like I can get a feel if it's like a reaction to something I'm eating or it's something
What's happening?
my skin just in
But
like around around the mouth area. Like
but what's happening with the
it's
skin?
like a dermatitis type of a thing that I used to get many years ago.
Mm.
So I'm
So
not
it's
sure
just
if
the skin's getting irritated.
yeah, so
Is it like red or like
it's
what's
red and
what's
it looks like little blemishes and it's a little bit red. And at the time I used to have perioral dermatitis, but I managed to clean my skin and it looked
yeah.
really well. So I don't know if something
Mm.
now I'm eating is aggravating it. Like
Are
sometimes.
you under stress?
Yes.
Yeah, it's stress.
Yeah, the last week or so more than usual.
Yeah. You're getting ready to travel and you know.
It's that, and also I need to make a decision about something, and money is money. Actually, money is the biggest stress thing. And yesterday the test kind of I wasn't expecting it to be like that, so I got a little bit
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
So
Give me
it's
just a sec here. Um, do you have some form of chamomile?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I would
have
probably try
German.
the chamomile. Yeah, like mix it in like a little bit of a carrier of some sort. It could be like some sort of massage oil, but being on the face, you could even just mix it in like aloe vera or something. And then just like put it on that area like a couple of times a day. Yeah.
Okay. So
I
yeah,
think
so
the
I
combination of the inflammation and the stress that would be a good way to resolve it.
so yeah, so I have well, I actually have like an eye, it's actually meant for under the eyes, like it's a serum with chamomile and a few other things, and I actually just use that. But I can use German chamomile on its own and see what it does.
Yeah.
Okay. And then German chamomile or any of the other ones?
Any chamomile should actually have an impact. I mean, you,
Okay.
you might be able to try helichrysum, but I kind of like the chamomile a little bit better for it. But
Okay.
with these kinds of things, you just start kind of treating and seeing what works and what doesn't work because it's not just that you're treating a symptom. It's like, how we're talking about like
It's
you have
yeah.
stress and you got a bunch of things going on and
And
it's
it's
bad
and it feels
weather and
mm-hmm.
and so you start treating and finding the combination that will work. But I think chamomile is a very good place for you to start.
Okay. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it feels like it potentially something from the inside, so I'll switch to whatever I think, I mean, food-wise might be triggering it, like some kind of cheese, just in case. But
Yeah, just in case, but it's probably stress.
it's probably stress,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Especially that you've had it before and it's gone away. Like a lot of
And
times with stress, those are the kinds of things that come back.
the thing is that really it's been a very long time, so it hasn't
And
been like that in a while.
that doesn't
So
matter.
yeah, no, so that's why I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, this is
yeah,
it's a sign that things needs to okay. And
yeah.
then just keep working the state of the body and all of
Hmm.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
How
just
did the weekend treat you, by the way?
it was really good.
Yeah.
It was
The
really,
weekend
yeah.
was really good for the stuff that you've been doing for the foundation that you've been laying. The weekend stuff was
Mhm.
really, really good for what you're doing.
And I was actually using the I was playing a little bit with the diaphragm, with the minor
Hmm.
chakra, the blend. So I've
Hmm.
been working on that a little bit. Yeah, so just kind of playing again with some of the protocols, but yeah, it was really good. Yes,
No,
thank
good,
you.
good, good. Yeah.
And it's giving me like another tool to really keep it's exactly, yeah, it's exactly the things that I need. So
Yeah.
basically
Yeah,
just
yeah,
keep
yeah.
working these protocols.
Yeah, you've been doing a version, not what we did on the weekend, but you did like a kind of a version of it for a little while. But
Yeah.
like, with the weekend, you have a lot more. Yeah.
So so I guess that's another thing that I've been because I've been taking so many classes and I have all these notes
Hmm.
and all these protocols and all the and then when it comes down to like, okay, so what do I feel that I need to do right now or what would be the most beneficial? And then I'm going back to things that we've done before and I'm like, but actually we have a new so basically it's better to work the newer versions because they're more potent usually.
Well, sometimes the things that I talk about, like maybe in the past, it's based on the information that's been already kind of like put out, and I might be putting something new out, but
Okay.
like there's different levels or foundations, and
Mm-hmm.
in a way, there's even different paths within some of the stuff that we do. Like here we could be talking about an energetic version, or we could be
Mm-hmm.
talking about the physiological version. So there is that component, but with the stuff that we've been talking about, like it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty straightforward with just kind of especially for that weekend,
Mm-hmm.
this last weekend, a lot of that was right up your alley.
Okay.
right up your alley.
So, okay.
So
So just,
that's, yeah, that was stuff
hmm
that we were having you do pieces of it.
hmm
And so I would keep working that
Okay.
component. Yeah.
So yeah, so that was amazing. And also some of the new blends are very cool. Like I'm liking the premiums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And really with the etheric cord, because usually I do etheric cords quite
Uh-huh.
often. I have it
Yeah.
around, I have it as roller ball in my bag. So basically I can do the same thing with the premium, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep, okay,
Yeah, it's just a little stronger, a little fancier,
okay. And I think for me, because I always like to understand things, which is very not the intuitive mind. That's just my intellect and how I am. But I think to me at least it's fascinating that you use totally different oils
hmm
and for the same or similar purpose, and you got something that's
Yeah,
even
well, the premium does a little bit more. Like
right.
it's a little bit more, how we're talking about like the state of the body,
Mm-hmm,
the health rate blend that's the premium and the TheraCord blend that's the premium
mm-hmm,
kind of does things a little bit more for the state of the body, where the other ones are just, they do it a little bit, but they're about like mopping up, whatever's going on. This one
mm-hmm.
does that, but it also does something and takes it a little bit deeper because of what it does to the state of the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and basically like using the health rays premium as a spray or using it as a scrub, so it's still so just gonna
Yeah,
give
it's
me
all,
more
it's all the
than
same rules. Yeah, all the
hmm
same rules.
yeah.
It's just
And
especially for doing like the deeper work with the state. Like you could still do it with the regular TheraCords and the regular health rays. It's just it would take longer to produce a result.
mm-hmm,
And when I made those, I wanted them to be something that was also like cost effective so people could use it a lot. Like when
mm-hmm,
something's fancy, you're like, oh, I'll use it from time to time. When
yeah,
things are really workhorses, like they're really
mm-hmm,
made to be, like you said, like for us, like even, I've made that premium like quite a while ago, but still around our house, almost in every little station where you would sit at a couch or a chair or the workplace, there was like a little roller ball of a TheraCords, there's a couple little things and for each of us. And
mm-hmm,
so if you just feel the need, you just sit and kind of clean those things up. And
mm-hmm,
and so even with the premiums, we still have just the regular TheraCords peppered throughout the house
mm-hmm,
and the workplace. And because I have upstairs is plant prana, but then I go downstairs for Astara, and then I have the section for healing, and so I have them peppered all through there, as well as next to the bed, and one's on
mm-hmm.
the table right here, next to me. Like so, they're just kind of everywhere.
Yeah,
And if it was expensive, you wouldn't do that. And
yeah,
so you wouldn't use it very much. And so I
mm-hmm,
tried to do like a good solid, you know, take a bath, do a salt scrub, whatever. But the fancier ones, they work better, but they're also more expensive. And I find sometimes that because they're more expensive, people sometimes don't use them quite as much, because it's
mm-hmm,
a special thing.
yeah,
It's in your pocket or in your bag or something. You don't think about it as much, but you know, think about how many things have had etheric chords in it. If you've been doing classes for a while, you probably have
yeah,
a handful that you could just scatter through the house without really looking
mm-hmm.
at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And even with that, you had a couple of with the health rays, you had a couple of different versions. Yes.
yeah,
Um, but really if we're looking at etheric chords, now that I'm traveling and I'm around people all the time, and
yeah.
so basically keep doing that,
Oh yeah.
and and it would have an effect at some point on them as well because I'm so close to them, right?
Yeah,
Do
somewhat.
I?
Some. I mean, it's not always cleaning up people like that are upset at you. Sometimes it's just cleaning up. You're in an airport. People are making very little eye contact, but there's just like these little connections. But also part of what Etheric Chords does is it is also part of the makeup of a chord is other people's homeostatic emotions as well as yours. And so part of what TheraCords does is, it helps to for a cord to be cleaned or to release, you're stimulating parasympathetic activity for one, and two, you're cleaning up the homeostatic emotion. And so even if there aren't necessarily cords present from somebody who's giving you the stink eye, say at the airport or something, it still cleans things up from just these little connections because there's people, but there's events, there's situations, and say like in your travel, you're like, oh, the plane, the Uber ride to the airport, waiting for my bags, like you can just start having these little lists, and you kind of have a cord to each one of those little things that had an emotion or made you think about something repetitively. And so it just helps to clean those things up and release those so that even if you have a weird travel, we're using travel here as an example. Even if you have a weird travel, you're able to like just disconnect, let go, and not still be attached to something that happened a week ago, you know, just because it was a little stressful or a little weird, or there was some weird incident, or you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it quite stress management, but stress-ish management. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a good one. I mean, on my shoulder bag and on my bigger like carry-on, I have these like, I have my bag, but then I have these like little pouches that hang off of them. Each bag has a bottle of TheraCords in it.
Okay.
Each bag.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So that's definitely going there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have so many, it's harder for me to decide which oils not to take than to decide which ones
Yeah,
to take.
I'd be super
That way.
practical. Like, take things that are antiviral, like Bayloral, Eucalyptus radiata, Ravensara, Melissa, Monarda, something, at least one or two of those. I take something like probably lemongrass as well, which would also be in that vein. But in case you start getting sick or something like that, that's always good. Probably a little spikenard to help you sleep.
Oh, for sure.
Health raise is not a bad idea. And then kind of whatever you're working on, you know what I mean? Like I have, like when I travel, I have like helichrysum's another one. I actually even like to carry like a little bit of tea tree, just because tea tree is like so multifaceted and does so many things. But like even if I get a cut, I usually put helichrysum on it. It cleans it up, it reduces the pain, and it helps to bind the wound. And so, with usually about 8 or 10 oils, I can cover a lot of ground. Marjoram is another one that always makes the cut.
Yeah.
Larch larch or hyssop usually as well. And then after that, I take the things that I'm working at the time, because I'm like you guys, like we have you doing your little set of protocols. Like I have my little set of protocols that I do for myself. And, so I have my go-tos for when anything's going on, but then I'm in the middle of working my spinal thalamic tract. So I'm traveling with some of those oils and,
Yeah.
I like those consciousness blends from the weekend. So uh, I travel with those a lot. Like I really like those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I have some tiny ones that go in my regular
Mm-hmm.
bag, and then
Yeah.
some of the kit sizes. Because I mean, even like the auric programming, because we have the class coming up and the
Yep.
vibrational
Yep.
healing. And then like even the color healers, all these like little ones that I'm like, okay, they have to come in. But then
Yeah,
even
especially like orange healer is a good one to travel with, just because it's a good cleanser. It's a little bit diuretic. Opodeldoc, another one that I probably throw in the mix for myself. But after that, you're starting to be in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
And so then it just starts to be like if you have little preferences or little things that, you know,
Yeah.
that, so for me, like I'm always worried about like, oh, what happens if my back starts to go? So I always have like a little thing of nerve help, little thing of pain soothe. Um, I just have some things like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
where Samantha doesn't have to worry about that. So she has her little group of things that she makes sure that she takes.
Yeah.
So like there's some that will be very universal, and then there'll be some that'll be very personalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Terragun, because
And I
it's
try to limit it to one case, which usually means I take two, but,
Mhm.
I shoot for one.
I don't even understand how you put it in two, because right now it's like I have
Yeah,
a really tiny one for like 15, and then the other stuff still has to go
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you throw it
So
in a check bag and.
yeah, exactly. And then just one last thing. I mean, we talk
Mhm.
about all the antivirals, and I'll do the Melissa Monarda before the plane and everything.
Yeah.
And Melissa is obviously for the mind as well. We talked a little,
Melissa is very good for a lot of reasons, like especially like this. So you have the
yeah.
antiviral property. It reduces the homeostatic emotion, so it reduces stress. And it's one of the things that if like you started having fear or anger or something, it would know that. And it's also anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
So and it's a bit antispasmodic. I mean, granted, it's a little bit expensive, but it is a good, well-rounded thing
Oh,
to
it's a must for me.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like the point I guess I'm trying to make is you're covering a lot of ground just by taking that one.
Just,
Like
yeah.
just there's oils that can do like a lot of different things. And so
Hmm.
if you gravitate to like bay laurel's another one where like
Yeah.
I travel with a lot, and the last 4 or 5 trips, I probably haven't even broken it out. But there's been times where I was sucking on the bottle the whole weekend. You know what I mean? Like you
Hmm.
just never know. And
Yeah.
so, helichrysum's
And
another one like that, where it's just like there's times where I never use it, and then there's times where like I am hoping I don't run out before I get home.
hmm
You know, and
and
so.
and then we spoke a little bit about kava kava, and you mentioned that you do that when
Mhm,
you travel. So you do
mhm.
that, what, just inhalations or internally?
It depends. Like if I'm feeling a little wound up, I'll do both. If I'm not feeling too wound up, but you're still displaced from the travel and everything, I'll
Yeah.
just take a few drops right before I go to bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like if I'm traveling and it's just, because that's the thing that's weird about travel is you're just sitting there, but it's still stressful and exhausting.
Yeah.
And two, you're surrounded by people in very close proximity that are
Yeah.
usually way more stressed than you are.
Hmm.
And so part of what winds the body up when you're traveling like that is the people around you more than you, you know? And so there's times where travel is very nice and quiet and which means the people around you are just all pretty chill, and then there's
Hmm.
just times where people are arguing and being loud and kicking your chair, and it's just you know usually I get a chair kicker about every 5 or 6 trips, and they're usually just anxious or nervous, and so they just rapid fire kick the seat or something. And
I just take the last row. I don't get any of those things. I'm very specific.
yeah,
I have 15 hours, so I have to
yeah,
be.
yeah,
But yeah, so it's basically just kind of balancing out all the other
yeah,
people.
yeah.
So even for the sleep on the
Take
plane,
things that are very sedating, like on the
yeah,
on the plane, you know.
okay. And then just kind of
And
alternate.
that length of time, I would probably also take some lemon internally or some helichrysum internally, just because you're sitting for such a long period of time. It's like taking an aspirin
Yeah.
or something.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
didn't think about that.
yeah.
Okay,
You're
thank
saying,
you.
I mean, on a 15-hour flight, you're going to be getting up and going to the bathroom and stuff, but still you're
Um,
sitting
I'm sitting
in
most of the time. Yeah.
compressed cabin for a long period of
Mm-hmm.
time. And so it's good to think of the clot issue just in case.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so just a quick, so if we're looking at something like helichrysum, right? So I'm taking it, let's say I'm doing the cholesterol support. I'm doing the combination of oils for that.
Mhm.
Would taking the helichrysum, would that cover me for, or do I still need to take it additionally before the flight for that? Like,
Um,
so helichrysum or taking lemon is for sitting too long on the flight,
right,
and you would do that before the flight.
right.
But I'm wondering if I'm already taking helichrysum in the combination for the cholesterol support, would you still take
So,
it?
like with the cholesterol support, I would do the rosemary, verbena, and cypress by itself. Give it a little bit of time, and then do the helichrysum, even if it's just 5 minutes. But if
Okay.
you do it like that, you just if you're already doing it, that's enough.
Okay, so it's an okay, because the
Yeah.
cholesterol support doesn't have helichrysum in it. I don't know
No.
why I thought. Oh, it just has the
Rosemary,
rosemary and
verbena, and cypress. Yeah.
okay, so I was wrong. Okay.
Sometimes when people, sometimes with women that they won't respond sometimes to the cypress. And so, you treat it for a few months, and then if they're still like it's still not going down enough, sometimes we switch the cypress and we make it with Spanish sage. But usually the cypress is what works. Because
Okay.
like most likely for you, it's genetics, and the genetic part is the hardest one to treat. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's not treatable. It's just you have to be sometimes a little more aggressive about it, a little bit more tenacious about it. But, you know, I once treated a person that they were, I mean, they were doing everything right. They were vegetarian. Their cholesterol was like 650 or something. I mean, it was just crazy. And we got it down to like around 210, 205, something like that. And they'd start to feel good about it, and soon as they would stop taking the cholesterol support, it would shoot right back up to 550, something like that.
Oh
So
wow.
when you
Okay.
see something like that, that's usually genetic.
Yeah, because my
there's
dad
there's
had.
something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so for some people it's just like diet and age, and
Mm-hmm.
there's other factors as well, but you always want to look at vein health and things like that. But at 300, I mean, it's been a while, but you're vegetarian and everything, there's probably a genetic component
Yeah.
to it.
And it was, I think it was a little bit high before.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you so,
So
so
you're
much.
so welcome.
Okay, I just also don't mean to jump in because you gave her so much good stuff. We do have the clinical corner for the high cholesterol, and
Mhm.
it was where you told kind of the multifaceted approach, looking at the art programming, looking at the vibrational, and looking
Oh,
at
I
the
forgot I
symptom
did that.
stuff.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna post that in chat as well.
yeah,
And that's all I wanted to say.
yeah.
And then go ahead, Laura, then Robert.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Greg. Great weekend. I didn't take Sunday. I'm going to be writing and getting a copy of the recording. The first thing I did when you had us do the oil ANTAH
Oh yeah, I'm Takarana.
on
Mhm.
Takarada is I
Yeah.
dropped it. And what is in on Takarana?
It is.
Oh, not what is it, not what's in it so much as what does it do for us?
Oh, it increases the size of the Dhakarana. Yeah, so it's the spiritual cord, and then as it comes down through the body, it's the central channel, and then it continues and goes down into the earth. And so whenever you increase when it goes down into the earth, I didn't finish my sentence. It's the earth cord. But it's the same thing. It's just in different segments. They call it different things. So when somebody brought it up over the weekend, central channel, like in a star, they call it the Sushumna. And so, but if you just look at it as that cord, um, by increasing the size, you're increasing soul contact. So that is increasing life force in the body. And it's starting to flush things out of the roots of the chakra out to the surface. And so at first it's having a cleansing effect of things that are like deep in the body. It could even be like physical blockages, like it's making the whatever that chakra is in charge of, it's flushing things out so that that chakra functions better in that particular area. So like the back heart would be circulation, the heart, the lungs, the thymus. And so when it displaces that deeper set of blockages, it helps that chakra like service those areas or you know deliver life force to those areas, improve their function. And so at first you're cleaning up and helping to release blockages that are deep in the root of the chakra, which means they're usually very impacted in the body. And then eventually, as we grow and evolve, we start to bring more soul energy into the chakra itself that eventually physicalizes into the body. And that starts to change the physiology, you know, it makes the body function better, more efficient, makes it regenerate faster, but it also calms a lot of the agitation down. You know, the idea of agitation in the body, you know, is a way of saying like stress, but it's almost like the cause of stress rather than what stress is. Like, you know, the same thing can happen to 5 different people and they're going to have different stress responses to it based on like their makeup. And you know, that's like another way of saying depending on the level of agitation in the body and where the body is agitated, we're all going to have different responses to something. You know, because we we are impacted by our environment much more than we you know think. And a lot of it is in things that aren't like conscious. A lot of it has to do with our involuntary part of the nervous system and just how our body is responding to different stimuli as we're in these different situations. And so it's a way of calming all that agitation down so that the body just keeps doing what it's supposed to do and not you know be jumping around as we go from situation to situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Like you
great.
were you in the class like a few weeks ago? It was that free one when I was in Birmingham, and I had somebody, you know, I had us all like think of a difficult time or a difficult person, and Tracy was in the class, and she had one of those aura rings on.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, and she goes, "Oh, I'm just thinking of that person, and it says I'm in a stressful situation, right?" So what you could say is like she was dealing with a very difficult and probably still is like dealing with a very difficult person, difficult situation. And so it's agitating to her body. And so what starts to happen over a period of time when we're in situations like that, you'll think about it a little bit, and every time it just like it sends the stress red alert to your brain, to your physiology, like you're there, but it might just be that you're thinking of it. And so,
Right.
you know, the more that you can calm that down, the more, for one, you can handle a difficult situation with that person, hopefully a little bit more effectively, or you know, not have it be so stressful or upsetting. But also after you leave, it's like you're almost like detached from the situation. Like you think of that person and it wouldn't change the brain, but we all have those things going on in us to some extent. And you know, there might be some areas where we're good, and then there's some areas where it's like, ugh, you know. And the idea with even the some of the things we did, but also with the Antakarana is you're just calming all of that down so that, you know, as you deal with the situation, your body doesn't keep re-experiencing it over and over again. Because that's even the idea of, like, how we've talked about in protection classes or psychic attack. A lot of times a person's mad at you and then they get over it in like 5 or 10 minutes, but it feels like it goes on in your body for like days or weeks. It's because it agitated your body and your body just stayed agitated all that time. And so the more that you're able to calm that down, be it a difficult person, a difficult situation, some form of aggression, some form of displacement or something, your body almost doesn't change a whole lot. You just, you're dealing with the problems, but your body's not as reactive.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
One more question. Thank you very
Mhm.
much. One more question. This coming weekend, dealing with, I was getting ready to order right beforehand, so I'm going to ask this question. Inflammation. I've got a lot of inflammation and arthritis.
Mhm.
And I was about to order the kit, and I decided I was going to ask you, because I have a whole lot of those oils.
Yeah, you probably have a lot of it already.
But
Yeah.
are there some that you think are, and I don't mind having the kit for inflammation that's just an inflammation kit, but
Uh-huh.
if you've got some specific ones that you think are more A than others, I would order.
Like you said, you probably have. I'd have to look at the kit to see what it is. I want to say there's 3 tinctures in there that are good for this aspect. Let me find it in my notes.
So it may be worth it just to get the tinctures and try them.
The tinctures, and the other one that's a kind of a quiet sleeper there is the Eucalyptus citrodora.
I do have
Right.
that.
Yeah, like that is a very good anti-inflammatory topically. And we're gonna just go at inflammation as many different directions as we can, because not everybody's gonna do the same thing. You might do a little of this or a little of that, and call it good, where somebody else might feel they need more or whatever. But I would say being good at treating inflammation resolves a lot of issues. Um, there was this person one time where they had a bad back, and it would go out and then it would be fine, it would go out. And the approach, they had seen other practitioners and their doctor and everything. Everybody was treating it as pain. And by the time the person came to me, it was like, yeah, it's like I get temporary relief, but then it comes right back. And so, the pain management isn't working. So I step back and go, okay, what are other things, rather than just trying to manage the pain a little bit better? And I just dropped all the pain management stuff, and I was like, let's just treat inflammation. Not even specific to the site, just inflammation on the body. Back pain went away, like just completely went away. And so, when inflammation is in the body, it makes other problems, like it exaggerates other problems and can cause other problems. And so always doing things to calm the inflammatory response and reduce inflammation on the body usually makes things work better in general. And then our spots that hurt, or if there's a digestive issue, like it will improve, but then whatever other treatment that you do then becomes usually a bit more effective. And so, the healing of inflammation, how we were talking about the different segments of vibrational healing, still would fall under the regenerative part, which is the rest and repair mode. So rest, repair, and then it would also be impact digestion as well. And one of the things that inflammation is especially hard on is the internal organs. And so anytime you're doing things in that regenerative lane, you're always helping the body, deal with the inflammation and the mechanisms of it. But a lot of it is things we talk about all the time. We talk about vagal tone and, the nervous system and, parasympathetic and sympathetic and, all those kinds of things. And it's just, we're going to just work that very systematically. And so you going back to what you were saying, you probably have a bunch of them. But I would say like those 3 tinctures are kind of interesting.
What
And
about
then,
is it Raphael that is in that kit?
yeah, just because regeneration is also tied to um the effects of angels also hit that same vein. And the inflammatory response, if you look at it just from the point of view of the angels and how they work on the physiology, Raphael is the better one for stimulating regeneration in the body, especially when it comes to inflammation.
So would high cortisol levels be part of this inflammation?
It probably also happened because of the inflammation, so it's like kind of a double-edged sword, because um
And
like
what would you use to treat that?
you do kind of the same things like you reduce inflammation. I also like with high cortisol levels, I like to use like vetiver on the body. Sometimes other things the person will respond to, but vetiver is very calming to the body. It
I love
stimulates the immune system. It improves circulation, but it's just calming and soothing. And, so, you could easily throw that into the mix of what we'd be talking about over the weekend.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Robert, then Ralph.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg. So I've had an interesting 4 or 5 days here. Saturday, I started to get a cold, is what I'll describe it as. And I
Okay.
was mostly good, but kept coughing and coughing from a postnasal drip. And by Sunday, it was like really knocking me out. I slept about 7 hours during the day, Sunday, plus
Mhm.
another 9 hours Sunday night. So I slept almost all of Sunday. Um, and I'm getting better, but I know that there's still something hanging on. Uh,
Do
last time I
like,
checked,
does that feel in your respiratory tract or just feel like general body or it's in your gut?
well, I did have diarrhea as part of all of it. I don't think that was the cause, but I think they're related in some way. Right
Mhm.
now, it feels like my sinuses are still full. And what's deceiving is that in San Diego, we're having Santa Ana wind conditions, so we're down to about 15% humidity. So I think that over the weekend it dried things out, and now as the humidity's going up slightly, it's not dried out anymore.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in the
So you
last
have a lot,
45 minutes,
is it running or is it just feel like stuck?
it feels sort of stuck at the moment.
Okay. So I would do a few things. Let's see what you have and then we'll kind of figure out a process. So for one, definitely would be taking rosemary verbena internally. 2 or 3 drops. It's not going to be a quick fix, but it will help shift the body over a little period of time. I would say even do it 2 or 3 times a day. Um, it will help the sinuses, but it takes a little bit. But with the mucus, do you happen to have the mullein tincture?
Yes, I've been
Do the
taking it.
mullein tincture and then use like because it's impacted, this is what I like to do. I like to use like thyme or like benchmark thyme or any of them. I usually use a softer thyme though, like thyme linalool or thyme thuyonol, something. But if you don't have a soft one, just grab whatever one you have. Or black pepper and inhale the oil until it kind of gets everything running. and then really work on blowing your nose for a little bit. And then after that, I'd follow that up after you kind of get the nose kind of cleared up with like Anula or terebinth, um, even a eucalyptus or something, but Anula would probably be my first choice.
Okay, and so the Anula, the tincture.
Yeah, if you have the tincture, you could take that as well, but the inhaling of the Anula.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
I'm sure you
both.
have it in a kit somewhere.
Yeah, I have both of those.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to write this down.
Like the Anula breaks up the mucus and slows down the production of the mucus. The terebinth is just drying, like it just dries things out. So a lot of times I feel like for myself, I'll start with the Anula and then after a little while I'll switch over to the terebinth, like after a few days or so, like when I have this issue. But right off the bat, the terebinth just doesn't cut it quite enough.
Okay, so in essence, use the Anula to get things flowing, and then
I would
terebinth.
use thyme or black pepper, like something that really increases circulation up there to get everything moving.
Okay.
Because like when things get impacted, you're also part of why it's impacted is starting because of the impaction. You have really poor circulation in the mucous membranes. You already, I mean, we all have poor circulation in the mucous membranes in the nose anyway, but then when it's impacted, it gets worse. And so, like, stimulate blood movement up there, which will make the nose start running, and then start blowing your nose. And then once you kind of have cleared what's in there, it's cleaning up a crime scene. It doesn't mean clear. It just means it's moving. If you close your mouth, you can breathe through your nose, then switch over to the Anula.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's sort of like
Another one, if you are having a hard time with the mucus, sometimes mugwort will work. Like if it's really just impacted and hard, it's stuck in there. Like sometimes
Yeah.
the mugwort will work.
I don't know that I'm there yet. So
Okay.
this is sort of preventative.
Okay.
Uh, and the other thing too is Robin got whatever I have and is about 24 hours behind me.
Yeah.
So she's going through it. Uh, but okay, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Start giving her Mullen immediately, and
Okay.
Golden Seal's another one that I like to use with nasal mucus. I like Golden Seal a lot, but yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're so welcome. Yeah, sorry you're not feeling good. Yeah, that's
I like the sleep. Sorry, I missed Sunday's class, but
yeah, but hey, good sleep is good sleep.
yeah, it was. I'd sleep for 45 minutes, come watch the class for 10 minutes, go back to sleep for 45 minutes. So it was a fun day.
Yeah, that's super good.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Ralph, then Jenny.
Hey, Rob.
Well, first off, I want to give my sympathies to Robert because that's what I just got over. I managed to miss the runs, but
Yeah,
otherwise, yeah, sounds pretty familiar. Hang in there, bro.
yeah.
It won't last
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, so for diarrhea, I didn't mention that, but for diarrhea, for anybody, like one of the first things you can go to is cinnamon, like a few drops of cinnamon in water.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, that can be very helpful.
Cinnamon for diarrhea.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm doing a whole lot better this week. My nose is
Good.
dried up. I still have a little bit of a headache every now and then, but I think that's due to old glasses and I need to go get my eyes checked. Different problem.
Where's
So-
the headache at? Where's the headache at?
It moves around. This morning it was like on the ajna. Most times it's on the corners of the eyes,
Like inside corner or outside corner?
outside corner. But I haven't had my eyes checked for a couple of years, so it's time.
Yeah, I mean that could be eye strain. How's your neck? How's your neck?
Tight.
It's
So that's
treat your neck.
something.
Treat your neck. Like
Okay.
you know, because that could also be a referred pain pattern from the sternocleidomastoid, which is those two rope muscles on each side.
Oh
And
yeah,
it
my
can
old
actually
friend.
even like distort vision. It can do all kinds of things to the vision. And so, you know, I wouldn't rule out that like, oh, hey, I'm going to get my glasses checked or whatever. But still, if you know, especially even if you think about like you were just getting over being sick, and you had some nasal stuff, your neck has to strain quite a bit more to elevate the rib cage to breathe.
Yeah.
And you know, by the time you get over being sick like that, your neck is a little bit more wound up than it was before. And so that already having a little bit of an issue and then having that illness probably, you know, is the contributing factor to the headache. So still do the things you said, but I would
Mhm.
also treat the neck itself. So
Okay.
lantana or, you know, vetiver, timolol, you know, just rub it on the neck and really just work on loosening up that those neck muscles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat or ointment?
I would do it in an ointment or in like a body tonic. The thing with vetiver, I like to take the vetiver and rub it on the base of the skull, you know, like
Mhm.
all along the base, but especially in the center, because it opens up kind of a plane of fascia in the neck and the upper shoulder that helps to unwind the neck as well. It doesn't completely unwind the neck, but it makes it easier to unwind the neck. And then you
Okay.
start working those muscles on the side. You know, even vagal tone, like if you have a vagal tone roller ball, just rub it on each side. Even that will reduce the tension in the sternocleidomastoid.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Vagal tone.
even after you get better, like I'd keep working on the neck. Like if you unwind the neck, like
And the neck has been a long-term problem for me.
yeah,
So
most people
it,
have a neck issue.
I've,
Most people, like it's rare that somebody doesn't have some sort of a weird
yeah,
neck thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason my thought for wanting to ask question tonight. Last
Mhm.
Tuesday, you gave a protocol to Troy using Rose for his upset with his partner. I've been using the Rose
Oh yeah, we
and
did
and
basic solar, back
right.
solar, ajna, crown.
Well, we did two basic front solar, back solar, Ajna crown, and then you had an alternate of basic Ming Men. Let me bring it up.
Oh, basic Ming Men back heart crown.
Yes, basic Ming Men
Yeah.
back heart crown. So I've been bouncing between the two of them.
Mhm.
And I've been focusing on everything's a crisis because having worked in field service, that was sort of my life for a
Sure.
long time
Yeah,
was
yeah, I hear you.
I
Yeah.
gotta fix the crisis.
Right.
And I'm getting real damn tired of that.
Yeah, I bet.
I've had
Yeah.
a couple of things happen this week that were, it might have been a crisis if I was there in front of it, but I wasn't. But my body still reacts to it like it is.
Okay.
It's like I'm being triggered by that into that old pattern.
So the thing that I would use for that, I would use the same patterns,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but I would use jasmine.
Okay.
You know, two if you don't have jasmine, maybe tuberose. But
I
like I
think
think you have some kits that have jasmine in it.
I think I have jasmine sniffers. Yeah.
Yeah. Pull that jasmine out and do the same patterns, but with jasmine.
Okay.
You know,
Ja-
the thing
Jasmine and
that's
alternate with
really nice
tuberose.
about jasmine, it's very fortifying, but it does help us pull out of that like uh, you know, when I think about it myself, I always go, oh, the panic thinking. But it's not really panic thinking, but it's, you know, like you said, you get used to putting out a fire and then you sit there and you go, okay, it's time to rest, everything's good. And then, you know, either I start, you know, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. It's like, well, is that a fire? Is that a fire? Like I'm looking for the next fire. Or,
Mm-hmm.
well, now what I'm supposed to do? I put out fires. That's what I do. What am I supposed to do with myself now? Like, you know what I mean? And Jasmine helps pull you out of that.
Okay, yeah, and it's not even like I think that what am I
No,
supposed to
it's
do? It's the physiology goes
yeah,
off and the
yeah,
monkey
yeah,
mind takes off, and all
yeah.
of a sudden I'm, drugged by my hair down the street on my butt, and it's like, oh God, not
Right.
again.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Good. I
yeah,
will do
yeah.
that.
That's very good for something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And rotate the jasmine and the tuberose.
If one or the other, but Jasmine would probably be my first choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Great. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Channing, then Megan.
Hey, Jenny.
Hi, Greg. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. I am wondering if there is a solid heavy hitter oil and
Mhm.
pattern that I can use to, I'm almost there to deal with R. I got,
Um, yeah.
I asked for something because R has been dragging his
Mhm.
feet, and then I got it, and it was just like, where the F is this coming from? It's just 11 items.
Passive aggressive. He's being aggressive. Like what? How's it?
No, well, I think it was just avoidance, but then, um, he said that he sent this information to me a while back, and I'm like, no, you haven't. And then I asked, I messaged him today. I said, send me the schedule and the budget, and let's talk about it. And so he sent it in the afternoon, and I wrote back and I said, this is the first time I'm seeing it. Let's meet. Let's meet to discuss and review
Mhm.
and address any gaps. No response.
Yeah. So, what part are you wanting to try to address?
Me,
Okay,
me
that's
not being triggered,
right.
me
Okay.
being able to deal with this without being triggered.
Yeah.
I
So
think I'm almost there.
yeah, I
Need a
would
little,
say a like a combination of two things. Like in this area, I would use. Do you have yarrow?
I do have Yarrow.
Yeah, I would be it a tincture or the oil, like tincture, like a dropper full or two, a couple of times a day as you're going through this, or if there's been like an incident or about to be an incident,
Yep.
or the essential oil, like 2 or 3 drops in water, a
I
couple of
don't have the tincture, but I have the bottle.
yeah. So 2 or 3 drops internally. Like it will calm the body down, especially in times where you're feeling like a little worked up or triggered. Putting on the blue healer like body tonic or something blue, like dark blue tansy, German chamomile, yarrow, something like that is also helpful.
I have Sacred Blue, Blue Healer, German chamomile.
Blue healer. Yeah, blue healer.
Okay.
And then I also like larch, and that would be an inhalation. And I would even put like a few drops, like 4 or 5 drops on the chest and a couple of drops on the abdomen, just because it opens up the bronchioles. And if you think about like you're dealing with something where it's stressful, upsetting, whatever we want to call it,
Mhm.
it's that thing, you know what I mean? And uh you're still having like it's almost like a kind of pain response, and the aspect that really can magnify it and make it worse is bronchial spasms. And
Mhm.
so if you reduce bronchial spasms, it doesn't change how he's behaving, and it doesn't change that you need to have a talk with him, but it makes you like be able to be a little bit more relaxed as you're dealing with it, because you know this is a strategy for him, and so you got to be able to manage him manage that situation without like losing it, so you don't make
Yeah.
good decisions. You know, you got to be really strategic, and it's like playing chess. And so you want to be able to think clearly to make your particular moves until you can get your way out of that contract or whatever that is.
Well, something happened over the weekend and he ended up having to drive almost an hour and a half to get up to my site.
Mhm.
And he was apologizing because I was really stern and I'm like, I was very, very stern on the call. And he ended up apologizing and he said, you know, I'm going to make this right with you, blah, blah. But
So this is the other thing that I would say. You know, just because you know, I'm not like picking up on this. Like, you know, we've had conversations about this. I think it's okay to be a little stirred.
mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't mean like act out or anything, but you know, being nice and understanding sometimes allows things to blow up in your face. Doesn't mean you have to be hostile and aggressive, but there's times where you just got to be, like you said, kind of blunt and stern with the situation. There's an agreement that wasn't fulfilled, like what is it, almost 2 months ago. So um yeah, that's not appropriate. And so if he can't self-regulate, he needs somebody else to help him regulate. It's a very polite way of saying it. You know what I mean? And so, you know, it's all those things that we talked about too. Like, deal with him before you're upset. You know, like if you're upset, like step away, calm yourself down, and then deal with him. But part of like holding him to his performance is just like what you're doing. What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What about the schedule? Like you just keep going down those lines and document everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I know you're doing, but just
Can
document.
can you see really quickly if he's avoiding or
Yeah, he's avoiding. Yeah, not as bad as he was, but he's still avoiding. Yeah, he
should I
he
just
he messed up, and he's not making it right. So I mean, he messed up badly, and it wasn't like, oh, something bad happened, something was out of control. He consciously blew this off. And so he didn't think there was going to be any consequences. And now that there's consequences, he's trying to put out a fire. And his way of kind of throwing stink on the situation, so there's a little bit of confusion, is his way of trying to cover his tracks. Yeah.
okay.
So you're
Yarrow,
doing
it
all the right
is.
stuff. You're doing all the right stuff. It's just it takes a little while of, you know, it's different than your other kind of work. And so the the emotional and mental component of like how to manage a person or a group or something like this, you know, it's like anything. The first like few times you do something that's out of your wheelhouse a little bit, it's a little bit like but you get a few of them under your belt and pretty soon you're like, I know what to expect, I know what's going on, I know how to handle this, you know. So you know, yeah, just keep doing the things you're doing. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
And this is the thing that, like, I know you and I know we've talked about this situation. Um, you're being nicer to him probably than you realize. If he's messed up like this with other people in the industry, it's probably not been as, even though this is uncomfortable, it's still probably not something that is foreign to him. And so
And
it's
you're
a little
hundred
it's a little
percent
bit,
right on that
yeah,
because
it's a
I
little
found
bit
out
uncomfortable to you, but for him, This is just chess. You know, it's
I
just
found out more information about his previous employees that have left him
yeah,
over
Yeah.
the weekend.
yeah,
So
yeah. Just keep doing your steps. But like you said, keep yourself calm. Keep yourself so like if you start to feel like I'm getting a little worked up, Melissa's another one. Keep Melissa. You know,
okay,
keep throwing it down, and you know you'll do fine.
okay, cool. I'm
Yeah,
gonna message him back and say, hey, let's connect soon. I really don't want to push this conversation out any further. It's been
yeah,
many months.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
You know, and in the text you could go, "Hey, it's been a while. TikTok, TikTok." You know, like kind of half joke, half not, but like you know, like hey, let's take care of this. It's been 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Thanks,
I don't
Greg.
need to say it to you, but like, it's been 2 months. He's being completely um, unrealistic or whatever you want to say. Yeah.
I'm gonna go pull out the Yarrow and the Blue Healer for March.
And then go ahead, Megan, then we have some chat questions as well.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, I'm still working Healing Spirit a lot, and I'm
Oh,
really
good.
liking it a lot. I'm
Which one's your favorite?
well, you suggested I work Mercury a lot, so yeah, I don't like I don't know, I still just don't really feel that much when I'm doing it, but I'm just having such a different experience in my day-to-day life. And I was gonna say it's so interesting. This was the reason I think we were saying Mercury was just like, family blow-ups and me scolding my son and things like that, that I kept working on anger and trying to tackle it from like emotional standpoint and like doing Mercury, because I do Mercury about 3 times for every one time I do the other planets.
Sure.
I just seem so much less angry. And so it's so
Yeah,
interesting.
you're changing the dynamic. Like the anger is the byproduct of the dynamic. And so if the dynamic is transient, then it's like, oh, I treat it, it goes away. But when it's there and it's like kind of a pattern, then you have to treat the pattern.
Okay. So
That's why I had you do Mercury.
yeah, that's what I want to understand better. And so this is
Think of it like
treating,
this. You're treating the the cause of the anger rather than the anger.
yeah. And so does that go back to the positive and negative spirit in the chakra where you're diminishing the negative one?
There's that, but it's also like it would affect like behavior. So you know, a lot of our behaviors, almost all of our behaviors are automatic thinking, automatic behaving. You know, we get a piece of stimuli coming in and then you don't really think about it and you just kind of start responding. And then, you know, your cognitive processes like tweak it somewhat, but that initial response is still coming from instinct. And so you're tempering the parts that would start to go down that road so that your cognitive and emotional components can be more of an influence rather than just that pattern all the time. And so
Yeah.
then you start to create different patterns, different ways of interacting, and then that starts to become the instinctive response. You know, it
Okay.
takes a little while, but
Because this is so different. I mean, there's so many classes where we work on instinctive responses, but this is like stuff that's been so hard to change that it seems, if I'm connecting the dots, because I do other stuff too, but it seems like it's coming from this, and I'm like, what is so different about this one? It's working,
Right.
it's
They
just happening.
they all kind of work on it, but they work on it. There's different aspects, different components, and there's like different degrees. And like, you know, sometimes some of the stuff that we do is building on that, you know, like how we treat symptoms is we think like, let's just go at it, go at it hard, make it go away. But a lot of times with things that are like a pattern, it's just this like weird unwinding. And you kind of start unwinding it, unwinding it, unwinding it. And then as you unwind it somewhat, you can start getting a lot more specific. And so the healing spirit was all about being very, very specific. Where the other things were doing, like, I always make this joke with myself. It's like I'm kind of cleaning up the crime scene. I'm like, ugh, all these
Yeah.
things I do over and over again. But that one's the razor sharp, like, let's shift this area.
Okay.
And
And then
so
how does that connect to those spirits in the chakra too? Because the reason I took the class, like
yeah,
the
it
reason
makes
I thought I,
makes the chakra, it makes it easier to cultivate the positive aspect of the chakra and diminish the negative.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if this class would address like honing in and purifying for the 5 virtues, Master Toa's 5 virtues. Would that be almost a substitute for his process?
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do with the virtues is you're working instinctual responses. You're doing it in a different way, but it's the same idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way to know which planet would connect with which virtue, or they overlap?
They don't quite translate like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, but doing the 7 would be like doing those 5. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so separate question. I'm still, noticing or paying attention to the lack of intuition that I seem to have. I don't seem to be getting any more sensitive to energy or seeing energy, vivid dream, nothing really still connecting with me with that over the years. And I've been, as different blockages are kind of fleshing out, mostly the neck and shoulders for me a lot. There's more stuff moving like in the head area. And I know the back head minor has a bit of a role in clairvoyance and intuition. And I wondered if you could scan the back, like the whole back of my head just feels like really congested. And if you think that's part of it, and if you have a suggestion, if you think it's part of it.
So, did you do this last weekend?
No.
And did you do the plant teachers?
Yeah, I actually only did the first day, and I'm just working the 5 senses over and over. I didn't
You're
even
doing the
watch the
5
other part.
senses. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's the key.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
yeah, I feel like my
even
face, like things are happening to my head.
yeah, even the things with the back head, part of that is tied to the senses. And so keep working the senses. Yeah.
Okay.
The one that's like that in the weekend is the I am blend. And so we did a version of that, but you know, like I like those sacred, like the sacred violet and sacred pink, and all that. But you could even experiment with using like aloes and tuberose, and you could still even experiment with some other things. Working the 5 senses really it helps us to be less like overly intellectual and allows intuition to really like blossom and become more of a thing. Because the senses are all tied to intellect. And so there's a lot of different ways to try to unwind it. But when you're really struggling with like, why can't I get this started? Like go to the senses. Like the
Okay.
senses. Yeah.
Okay.
Even when you're doing healing, like clean those areas.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like my sinuses are really just like stiff, that whole like my cheeks and my forehead, but it feels like my forehead's been loosening a little bit, but still like my jaws.
Because here's the other, like, so we use the I am blend. Let's just do like a little bit of a practice just for a few minutes. Is that okay? Or
Let's do it.
okay. So not even with oils right now. Like just close your eyes and your awareness is on your eyes, like your whole eyeballs. Okay. I guess we should say, notice how you feel, notice how you're thinking, your thoughts in your head. like the state of the body. Like, you know, sometimes you feel a little wound up or a little bit like something. Just notice how the body's doing. Okay, so your awareness is on your eyes. And with your awareness on your eyes, you say, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. And then your awareness is still in your eyes. You go ling, 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 and then ha. Ling, ha. Ling, ha. Ling, ha. Now move your awareness to your nostrils. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. Ling, ha. Ling, ha. Ling, ha. And then your awareness is on your tongue, your whole tongue. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. Ling, ha. Ling, ha. Ling, ha. Your awareness is on your ear canals, the holes in your ears. Ling. Oh, actually, let's do I am first. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. Ling. Oh. Ling. Oh. Ling. Oh. And then your awareness is on your whole head. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. Ling. Oh. Ling. Oh. Ling. Oh. Just let go of everything. Just be still. So you can see we visit the five senses. We do I am that I am, and then Ling Ha, which is another way of saying I am that I am. And then you could always follow this with just doing deep inhalations with frankincense or galbanum.
Okay.
And the reason frankincense is the better choice, but if you don't have frankincense, galbanum will work. The thing that's happening with that is you're helping to like temper patterns in the intellect so that it interacts with intuition more. So like you go through and you do even like this practice, like if I don't have the oils handy, I'll do this version of it, you know, because in Buddhist practices, we even do like little ceremonies with this, with the five senses. And then like frankincense, galbanum, or aloes is the other one. And you just inhale it for a while. And if you kind of keep doing that on a regular basis, you'll notice that your intellect actually becomes sharper, but you're able to like shift into intuition like more easily and linger there. Like you can almost go there at will eventually. And the intellect becomes sharper because it's gathering information from the intuition. And so the component is you're not really calming down or quieting down the intellect. You're keeping it from being hyperactive, but you're making it actually like work better.
And when I go through with frankincense, do I just do
Just inhale it
each
afterwards. Like yeah,
areas?
after you've gone through and done all of that, then after that, just inhale it. Like if you wanted to do
Oh,
a
okay.
pattern, if you wanted to do a pattern, you could do that pattern that we did last week where you went basic front and back solar plexus, ajna, crown.
Okay.
Yeah. But a lot of times there's times where I do that pattern. But a lot of times I'll just, I'm already starting to bliss out. I just inhale the frankincense and just let go.
Okay.
Like if you're cognitive enough where you're like, I can do this, then I'd say do it. But if you're like, I gotta do this pattern, I would just let it go and just inhale the frankincense.
I'm always cognitive, Greg, but we'll see
Okay.
what happens with this. And if I
Mhm.
drop a bottle for the first time, you will be the first to
Okay.
know.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of little steps. Like it's not going to be like one big thing, but like you keep making those movements. And even doing the senses actually even enhances the thing that you're doing with the healing spirit. That healing spirit class there's a lot packed into that class.
It feels like so many things are happening. Like physically, my body is like getting so loose in some of these areas I've worked on for so long. And it's like exponentially, the neck, shoulder, whatever that trauma thing was in my shoulder, blah, blah, blah. My jaws, like the back of my head feels like I can finally work on it a
Very
little.
good.
Like it's at least I could happen.
Right.
So it's fun. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Like that class, like I think I said it during the class. Like I feel like if I did that class like for a while, I feel like I could be enlightened or something. Like it has that kind of impact on your physiology and your mind.
Yeah,
It's
I did have
really,
some
really-
moments where I was like, I did get really quiet, and I just
Yeah.
had even a couple of days just
Yeah.
doing my normal stuff where I was like, wow, I just feel so peaceful and just
Yeah.
like mellow
Yeah.
and very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you.
And then go ahead, Letty.
Hey, Letty.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam. How are y'all doing?
Hey.
Greg, I had a quick question on, the scar that I had on my right arm where I burned myself. It's, it looks a
Oh
lot,
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
it looks a lot better, but now there's like the texture, you know what I mean, on it. Like, do you think that's ever gonna go away or no? It's gonna, like, it doesn't feel the same.
Possibly. Have you been putting helichrysum on it?
Yes.
Yeah, like daily or every other day or
Pretty much like every other day at least. And then I remember you had said also to put some rosemary also to get some blood circulating to it. You had mentioned that to
Yeah.
me when you saw it one time. I think when I saw you in Portland, Oregon.
Right. And so what is it? It's just like kind of rough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that'll go away or that's gonna stay like that?
I mean, scars can still change over a period of time. And so I would say there's a good chance that it would go away, but you never know. But do you have the potential to keloid real easy?
No, not really.
Okay. You stand a better chance that it will go away with that. Like if you keloid real easy, like I keloid real easy. And so like fingers crossed, maybe the scars will get better, maybe they don't. And usually with a period of time they get better. But the ones on my knees, it took a while. It took a long while. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like the feeling of it. I was wondering, like, wow, am I gonna have to go
Yeah,
get it?
because there's like a lesion underneath, and so it's
Mhm.
compressing like blood flow and can impact like nerve function. And so the more that you keep doing it, it's just over a period of time, it keeps unwinding that so that lesion goes away.
I mean, it looks pretty good. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
tell now, but it just
Yeah.
but I can feel it. I was just wondering.
Yeah. No, if you still feel it, I'd still treat it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Greg, I would have a question. Is there anything like for me to use at work so I just feel a little bit more comfortable at work? I just don't like office, like how I feel like I'm the, I don't know, I feel like I'm the outsider.
Cinnamon.
Okay.
Yeah. Cinnamon will make you a little bit more thick skin and a little bit like uh I mean you're kind of sensitive, so I wouldn't say like you get to a place where you just don't care. You just won't care as much. Like that was my thing. Like when like I'll give you an example is when I first started teaching so many years ago, um I had a really hard time. It was like in person, and I'd always be going to these places where I didn't know anybody, and I'd get up in front of a group of people, and I usually, I didn't know anybody, and like I could feel their like resistance or who's this guy or why are we listening to this guy, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, ugh, this is just debilitating. And there's a couple good different things that you can do. Cinnamon is a very good choice just because it makes you thick skin and more outwardly driven. And when you're in situations like that, that's the thing when you're in management now and you're having to deal with that. And, you know, people are going to talk behind your back, and people are going to, like, you're the boss, you're the target. You know what I mean? There is going to be a little bit of that. And
Right.
doesn't mean
Yeah.
you have to be all of it, but you don't get to be friends like everybody else's friends. It's a different dynamic a little bit. And so it doesn't mean bad, it's just different. And so you do got to get used to a little bit of just having that little bit thicker skin and being outgoing, like outwardly expressive. Um, Even when you don't really have a receptive audience. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that they're receptive or not, kind of still got to say the things you got to say. You still got to do the things you got to do. And if they're having a hard time with it, you also got to be able to handle them in a way that, you know, is appropriate, but like keeps, I mean, you guys have things you have to do. And so, you know, you got to keep hitting your goals or your markers or whatever it is for the week. And so the other thing that you might want to think about is the blend for the ajna.
Mhm.
They work
Yeah.
they'll work the ajna.
Okay.
Even if you want to like work the blend for the ajna, and we could do an experiment. Put a little bit of mugwort on your ajna. Like I'd still work the ajna, but
Mhm.
put a little bit of mugwort here because it's gonna, excuse me, it's gonna activate wherever you put the mugwort. It's gonna activate the center, and feeling people's feelings. Being empathetic or whatever. That's it's like solar plexus, like solar plexus and heart.
Mhm.
It's actually a little bit more solar plexus than you would think. Um, so if the group's not receptive, you're going to fill in the solar plexus, and you know, most personalities are going to have some sort of reaction. Let's say the ajna, if people are receptive, it's going to push through no matter what, you know.
Okay.
It's like, it doesn't mean mean. It just
Mhm.
means, you know,
So it just helps take care of business.
it take care of business, but you don't feel the emotions like you would when you're in the solar plexus or the heart.
Okay.
The but I mean, think of it like this. Like part of why it feels uncomfortable is you're feeling how it is in the moment, right? Like you're feeling the emotions, you're feeling their pushback, you're feeling whatever. So again, solar plexus, some heart, but it's solar plexus. Like empathy, a lot of it's in the solar plexus. And so Ajna has a lot more depth perception. How they're thinking, behaving in that moment just plays into the strategy of how this is going to play out over the next 3 months or 6 months. And then you're looking at it from like, okay, I see a behavior pattern here. Like, how do we address this behavior pattern rather than the moment of the actual feeling that you're feeling?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So the ajna, it's like it has more depth perception and it sees things in a bigger way and is a bit more strategic. Where the solar plexus and the heart are like, okay, this feels uncomfortable. Like, what do we do to like feel comfortable or for them to like me or whatever it is when I mean, this is a really harsh thing to say about like for them or about them, that they like you or not is kind of irrelevant. You're their boss. It doesn't mean you have to be mean, but that they like you, don't like you,
Mhm.
still you're in charge of taking care of these children, and the goal is the children, not making them happy. And so it doesn't mean be mean to them, but you know, if they want to make it about themselves, then you have to put that in your strategy so that you can still take care of the children. Does that make sense?
Mhm. It does, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just
Well,
thinking, oh my
yeah.
God, I was like, and I have another like after the Christmas break, I was thinking, oh, we have another 5 more months. Thinking
Yeah.
like, wow. I'm just hoping some people like don't come back, like maybe find a job somewhere
So
else.
this is what I would say, like in when the ajna becomes very developed, um it's a hard chakra to develop, by the way. That's why not everybody's just walking around with a big old, massive ajna. But that they like you or dislike you, like when you're from the point of ajna, won't feel any different. Like it feels the same. Like it doesn't matter that they're like nice or not. And it doesn't mean that like as that person shifts out of being in the ajna like state, right? And being more heart-centered, of course it's going to matter. But when you shift into ajna mode, that they like you or dislike you will be not a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you walk around doing that all the time, but it becomes more about what needs to happen rather than what's going on in the moment. Like the solar plexus is what would make everybody happy here, or what would I like to do? Where the ajna is like, doesn't matter what I want to do, it's what needs to be done. And you're managing, things that take care of a big group of children. And so that they want to put in their 2 cents or do something different other than the procedures that have been put in place way before you.
Mhm.
Take it up when that's appropriate, when there's talk of procedures or with the union or whatever. But as far as the procedures are the procedures. You're being held accountable for them. You're being judged by them. So
Mhm.
it's your thing to make sure that they get taken care of.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it could still be done nice, but
Mhm.
it's still got to take care of business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greg, I had another question. This is completely different. Uh, I'm talking back again with Ruben, but we were kind of looking at his business. I don't think it's doing too well. And I think I had asked you at the very beginning, like, should he do this franchise or should he go on his own? And he chose the franchise, right? But um, is there anything that can be done to like help the business out? Like anything that I can do? And I think at one time you were going to look at the location and you had asked if there was a window, but then I never got back with you on that.
Yeah.
Like
Do
I
the-
remember
do
going
the
in
ma-
and like cleaning the place, like with
Yeah. I mean, that can be helpful, but do materialization breath for the business, and then, is he open to doing a little tithe somewhere?
yes.
What kind of business is it?
It's Mr. Handyman. He's like handyman, like people call for the services. It could be anything like put lights on, come put a
Okay.
door.
Have him tithe somewhere for catastrophe relief.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like
Like
do
Red Cross, Red Cross
do Mercy Corps. Mercy Corps has way less overhead,
Mercy Corps.
like substantially less overhead.
I
Doctors
think
Without Borders or Mercy Corps.
Yeah, I think that's
We do Mercy Corps, don't we?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's one you've mentioned before, right? Mercy Corps.
Yeah.
And then you said the doctors,
Without Borders. And then decree it for the business.
Okay.
Yeah.
is there anything like physically for the place? Like, you know how like times for prosperity, like a picture frame of like the horses, anything like that would help in the business, or it's just more like has to be done like more like just the stuff that you're talking about.
Stuff that we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a way to refine it, but he doesn't have the flow yet. So he's not refining anything. He's got to get some flow going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Megan, and then we have some chat too.
Hey,
Hey, I was thinking about just perception and accurate perception. Would the webs being dirty be a big factor in accurate perception too, or is it mostly the chakras and the aura and somebody's past experiences and things?
yeah, past experiences, and like also, we see through our filters.
Because the
And-
web is kind of like what you're seeing things, like doesn't it filter things? Because it filters out certain energies. So then
yeah. But I would say, if somebody thinks they know something already, they're not really looking. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I'd say that's why intuition is so important, is it does shift out of like opinions and preconceived ideas, and this is the way life is, and you kind of start shifting out of that. So it's multi-causal. And so the webs help, shifting out of intellect helps, doing the spirits like that's helpful. I know this weekend you were saying like it was helping with your clairvoyance, but wasn't there another class that you were saying that with? Yeah. I don't remember which one it was. But a lot of the things about working with the vibrational state is that's what you're doing, is you're stimulating intuition and clairvoyance and that aspect to a much higher degree. And so the senses play a big role in the being able to see and having more accurate perception. But I would also say, we have our wounds and things from the past that also skewer our perception somewhat. And
Yeah.
And we have our defenses, you know. And the defenses definitely, you know, we were watching some movie or show or something, and one of the characters said something to the effect of humility is the most accurate sight or the purest form of sight. And you
Mm.
know, it's kind of saying like, you know, you're letting go of the pride of the, or the, you know, because pride is just defenses. Like, you know, you just have defenses up about something. And so, you know, the more those wounds and things are cleaned up and the defenses are down, the more accurate the perception. And so there's the mechanics in the energy body and the physiology and the instincts, but still, the more you unwind that deeper, you know, it's the idea of, you look at like the aura and the auric program, you know, we're going to keep going deeper and deeper on the program, but it's almost like we spend a lot of time interacting with stuff that's in the aura, you know, like we attract it, we see it, we see through it, you know, like we kind of see through it like as a filter, right? But it's the aura is a lot like the shell of an egg. You know, really what you want is what's inside that shell, not what's on the shell itself. And part of breaking out of intellect is being able to shift that shell so it's not so like fixated, you know, so like all those different steps of the aura, that's what you're doing, is you're making it so more of the intuition or the soul starts to influence the shell or the aura. And then as you go deeper into the states of the body, that's where you're starting to generate those things that people talk about in spiritual practices. Because like so many practices are, it's a slippery slope, because we just end up going through the motions of something and not letting it impact us. You know, you have to work at that part. And just doing the repetition of it, it's nice for the mind, it might feel good, but it didn't change something inside, you know. And so this thing about going into the vibrational state is literally like going, okay, so there's the surface, but now let's walk inward. And the more you walk inward, the more accurate perception and the more clairvoyance, the more intuition, all of that just starts falling into place. Like if you were to go through and look at people through history who were like considered great prophet or great clairvoyant, and you were to evaluate them, their ability to go inward is much more substantial than people who are just doing spiritual practices and meditating and everything. They have the ability to turn and go way inward. And in that inward, they're perceiving their true nature, and they start to see the true nature of the things around them.
Thank you. I have no frame of reference for that yet, but I wrote it down. I wrote so many things down in these notes where I'm like, I hope I understand that later.
But like, let's say like this, like everything that we do, we're always moving towards that. You're always moving, be it a stara, whatever. We're always moving towards that mystical side, that more inward side. It's the thing that's hard about it is it's not of the intellect. So, you know, we do so many things that's of the intellect, and then we, you know, want to use the intellect to go into that area when it's really a different part of the mind. It's really, it's a hard thing to teach. You know, it's almost, you know, higher forms of Buddhism, there's no technique. Like you don't, you get kind of shown tools and stuff, and then they just kind of, let me know how it goes. Like it's literally kind of like that. And it's like you just have to keep going inward and going, well, what about this? What about that? And, you know, because what you're doing is, you know, it's a lot like an onion. You keep shedding these layers as you go inward. And, you know, you think like, man, I really got this. And then you have a realization, there's this whole behavioral pattern that I do. It's been on autopilot all these years. It's this way of thinking, you know, whatever it is. And then you sit with it for a little bit, you process it for a couple of days. And it's not even that you need to make something happen. It's just your intuition like resolved it or moved past it or learned something from it. And you go a little bit deeper. And it's just these, you know, how we talk about when we're doing the harness, like a lot of little baby steps inward. I mean, it's not just in the heart, it's like as you go inward, you're just doing these little baby steps, little baby steps. You know, you take a step and then you look around and go, okay, it looks a little different. You know, my first like realization of that was I was young. I was like, I don't know, 20 or something, 21. And I was doing Tai Chi. And, you know, I had this teacher that you know, he would teach groups and everything, but I was like, I want to do the accelerated thing. So I paid him to teach me one-on-one. I would go do the group things, but I did a lot of one-on-one with him. And so, you know, he taught me this like kind of short form. I don't know, there was like 14 or 15 movements or something, I can't remember. And I got it down. Like, I mean, I just like if it was a piece of art, I'd be like, look at this piece of art. And he was like, wow, you really have got it. You know, very, very nice. Like you really, he goes, you know, he didn't say perfect, but he was like, that was really amazing to watch. Now do it 3 or 4 inches lower. I kind of lost my shit so much, like so to speak. Like I fumbled through it, and I was like, I had this down. I go down this much, and all of a sudden I can't do any of it. That's what it's like going inward. Like that's exactly like you go a little bit in, you go, yeah, I got this, and then you take another step, and you're like, ugh, what's all this stuff? You know, because like Tai Chi, it's an inner practice. Like so, it kind of helps you to understand what it's like to go inward. You know, you're doing it outwardly and physically, but it's like that is the steps of going inward. And so every little step, you kind of step around and you look around, you go, okay, got to get used to this. Like, so, you know, that's why it's always a lot of little baby steps. And then you take a couple more steps and you go, I'm just going to camp out here for a week, you know, and then a week, you're like, I think I could do a little more. And then you do a little bit more. And so it's a little bit like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
A totally different question from the last one I asked. It relates to what you were just talking to Megan about.
Mhm.
A lot of times I'll be not during a class, you know, off somewhere, and some thought comes across my mind, and it's like, oh, I really need to remember that and work on it later. And I sit with it and just watch it for a little bit. And then when later comes around, I can't remember it.
Yeah, it passed. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's normal.
If
It's not,
it's yeah, no, that's completely normal. The a lot of times if it's unresolved, it will surface again. But you know, there's times where, you know, we're kind of like when you're starting to work on intuition, it's like you're letting these, like, I don't know what you call them, like micro traumas that are just like they weren't like horrible. It was like, oh, this weird embarrassing thing that I said that probably nobody noticed but me, but you know, but I was 12, you know, there's like all these just weird little things that as you sit do it, there's like it's like how your life would flash before your eyes if you're close to a path. You're just letting them go, letting them go, letting them go, and then every once in a while it's like, that one keeps coming up. That's the one where you can sit and and, you know, sit with it and, you know, do the practices that we do, even if you just like watch it and then feel it in the body, it will start kicking in the thing to resolve it. But like all the different kinds of work that we've been doing, you've already set the pattern that if you just kind of present it to intuition, it will resolve it a lot of times. And so if it comes up and then just passes, then you're pretty good. You know, if it keeps coming back, then I'd say, that's a thing to work. But you know,
And I'm not, I can't even say that anything's coming back because I don't see patterns of what's come up and gone away. So it's like I assume they're all different and not related, and I'm just
yeah,
passing it through.
I would say, you know, a lot of times, you know, because if you think about it, it's more a lot of times what's passing is things from previous states that were probably not like you being in a good place, right? Even if it was just moderate.
Right.
So you might not notice like, oh, I keep doing this, and like, you know, abandonment's one that people talk about. Oh, and I keep getting abandoned, you know. Yes, that's a thing, but sometimes, like say you didn't have a good experience or a very stressful experience like at college or in high school or something like that. It might not be any one particular thing, but you'll notice a lot of weird things keep coming up about high school. And there's no pattern to it, but it was the time. You know, like it was the time, that state that you were in for the 4 years or whatever, you know, college or high school or whatever it was, or if your family was going through a difficult time or you were going through a difficult time at a particular age, it's there. If you had, you know, a difficult time with a partner or like a job or something like that, then you'll notice that it might not be a pattern with the job or the person or whatever, but it's all in that kind of time frame. That time is like a little like knot that you're trying to unwind.
Okay. For quite a while, I thought it was my brain just forgetting stuff.
Think of it like this, like when like somebody like the Buddha and they're realized, not only do they unwind the knots in that life, but they start unwinding the knots in previous incarnations. Like they keep it going and it's like, okay, I'm letting this all go. But then what starts to happen is their field expands as they keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it starts to be things from other times, you know. And so
It, does there have to be a conscious awareness of it being
Mm-mm.
another lifetime?
no.
It just,
Most times when people are talking about past lives, it's like active dreaming. So it's like it's a way for the mind to make sense of things. Um, when past life stuff comes through, it's like somebody slipped you acid and you didn't know it. It's very altering. Yeah, it's very, very altering.
okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
It's good stuff to chew on tonight. From chat,
Mhm.
got terrible menstrual cramps. Have always had it the first 2 days, very lethargic and painful. Rubbed marjoram last night, but it didn't do much. Anything else that might help?
Yeah, so I would try a couple of different things, and you'll just have to kind of figure out which one works for you. But uh, tarragon, like in some sort of base oil, rubbed down low on the abdomen. Marjoram could, or not marjoram, mugwort could work. And then another one is clary sage. And then also there is an herb, I think it's just called cramp bark. Like you might be able to find it on Amazon. I can make some, but it would take me 6 weeks to like crank the 6 to 8 weeks to crank that out. But you know, I that should have been one that I thought of. Maybe we'll
Yeah, that
do.
might be a
Yeah,
real,
we
I
need.
could add that to the women's.
Yeah, like I'm kind of developing a whole like women's set of tinctures and like oil protocols and everything. And so that could be one that makes that list. Yeah, but put it in a fatty oil, like lotion, massage oil, because you want it to linger in that area and you can apply it multiple times a day. Yeah.
Could I please check if there's a specific segment of the vibration class that I could focus on for a few days? If that's okay.
The vibration class.
Yeah, so they're adding, I want something that I can use like a maniac for a few days until my healing session.
I would do, let's see here. Let me look up the class. Hold on. Healing spirit, right? Is that what you said? Or vibration?
Vibration.
Was vibration. I was looking up the wrong one. Sorry. Do segment 5 and the physical approach. So it's the excess homeostatic emotion.
Just make sure. I think I had another question, but I
Yeah, we're gonna have to
yeah,
jump
I
over
think
in a
we
minute.
I can't. Okay. So yeah, we'll call that good.
Was there something else?
I couldn't see if
Okay.
there was, yeah.
Okay, you guys. Well, we're gonna be jumping over to the Astara prayer petition blessing right now. Usually takes about 15 minutes. You can join us if you feel like participating, generating a little good karma, and having a little nice 15-minute, just kind of connecting. And if not, we have our study group tomorrow and then a free class on the weekend.